And that concept is in a few of your pedals, I believe, in the Wise Guy, Big Fella,
Yeah.
those two Overdrive pedals.
Nugget and True Overdrive 1 and 2. They are all True Overdrives.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you could maybe tell us about those pedals and how they sound, what sort of the features are, and things like that.
Yeah. So the Big Fella and the Wise Guy, they were the sort of the first pedals, and in the beginning, I made the circuits with through-hole components, and I soldered all things paint one component at the time, and I made like the 10 first pedals like that. And then I realized that I can't use 5 or 6 hours on making one pedal because nobody wants to pay for that. Yeah. I had to do something different, so I redesigned them totally with the SMD components, so they could be machine mounted. These are the PCBs, and it changed the sound totally. So I had to restart it, and I spent at least 100 hours just tweaking the circuit down on my knees, component for component, and I had to redo that again. Spend another 100 hours on each pedal again, just with the SMD components and then tweaking the sound like that, because you can't really. I have simulated parts of the circuit, but it's really a musical thing. It's not necessarily mathematically correct, and you're also using the components outside the specs from the manufacturer. So you can use the data sheets to a certain degree, but they haven't really tested the components the way I'm using them. So I have to sort of make my own investigation into these. So the Big Fella and the Wise Guy is this the core circuits, and the Big Fella became the most popular when I did the remake. In the beginning, the first versions, it was actually the Wise Guy, but they sounded a lot different. Fella and the Wise Guy. But with the new design, it was the Big Fella that was the most popular circuit, and it is also the Big Fella circuit that's in 3-stage rocket and True Overdrive 1.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. The Wise Guy is the most mid-tone voiced True Overdrive. If you have a constellation, a band, or something where you have another guitarist, you have keyboards as well, something like that, you might want something that can cut through.
Yeah.
And that's the Wise Guy that's really good at that. And then the True Overdrive 2 is actually voiced for the American market, really, because they wanted something fat and beefy and things like that. Actually, the Big Fella, it takes out some low end of the signal, but when you crank up your amplifier, that's gonna supply that low end body, and this is very, very fine calibrated to match that in most amplifiers. So you got so it takes out exactly what your amp is providing when you turn that up. Not all people understand that.
No.
And if you only sit at home with a very small combo and you never get to play with people, which some guitarist does, then you're not gonna understand that concept really.
Yeah, that's one of the things, and I find that with some fuzzes. I mean, I've always been more of a sort of an overdrive and boost guy rather than fuzz. I've always I play orange amps, which are very sort of mid-ranged, and there's quite a lot of low mids in there. And I find that sort of a lot of fuzzes that I play, it just gets lost in the band mix. But if you've got that sort of higher end or sort of mid-range tone with less bottom end in it, it's just what I'm looking for out of an effects, boost or an overdrive, really, just to push it through the mix. It's all well and good having something that sounds good in here, you know, when I'm recording things like that. But when you're in a band context, it's completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Actually, yeah.
And the dynamic delay, that sounds a great pedal. How does that differ from other delay pedals that are on the market?
Yeah, the thing is that I didn't really like much delay pedals on the market. Well, I thought that they did the job, but and I think through the years it has just there are fewer and fewer delays I actually like. I think they are too hard and too I don't know how to explain too cold really for my taste, and I was not. I mean, I had some Buzz delay pedals that was some of the delay pedals I could agree most with, and I just kept the delay short and fairly low, and then it works out sort of. If you turn the delay up, then it's going to conflict with the rhythm, and if you make the delay longer as well, then you're going to hear it's going to tilt the sound. So I wanted to make a delay that was sort of more had the flavor of an analog delay. That was really the scope of it. If you take a Memory Man, especially the old ones, they sound a lot different from some of the newer ones, by my opinion. Take some of the older Memory Man. They are of course analog, and they only have a delay of I think half a second or something like that. It's not very long, but they really have this softness and to it, and that's really just a warm, soft. That just blends in. So that was my my scope for it, and then I started investigating in what do other manufacturers do and why don't I like it? What is it that they do that I don't like, and is it possible to make a digital delay that has the warmth and the flavor of an analog delay, and how that done? So I think I made like 6 revisions where I changed strategy all the time. It was really difficult actually. Because there's a lot of dilemmas that I realized that there are some dilemmas when you make a digital delay pedal that you can't. There's no perfect solution to it. It's a trade-off because there's not the tradition for having a gain on a delay pedal, and this is the entire problem. And with making a delay pedal, if you have a rack unit, you would accept if there was a gain button, and you can solve a lot of the problems there. So you have to have a circuit where you can have a weak input, and you expect to have a clear and delay, and then you have to be able to push it really hard with a high input, and you have to cope with that. And that's a lot of compromises at that thing. And it's all about how you solve these compromises, and there's always a downside. I don't think there's a solution that where you don't give something away. So it's just find out what's important and what's less important, and find the good compromise.
Yeah, and the Red Fuzz one and the Deep Metal. Again, they sound fantastic pedals. Maybe you could give a quick insight to those pedals, what they sound like, and everything else.
Yeah. So the Red Fuzz, the Red Fuzz is, I think, it's built from this Fuzz face. Really, it's inspired from the classic Fuzz face, and there's a lot of low end in it. That's fairly weird for a Fuzz pedal. That it does so. And it's silicon transistors, which really have some harsh high end. With the Red Fuzz, I spent so much time on making guitar effects that just sound really, really good. I mean, pleasant and really nice sounding and things like that. And I really had to do something that point it in another direction, because yeah, something that has a lot of edge and ugliness and things like that. And that's really the Red Fuzz. It's not made to blend in anywhere. It's made to stand out.
That's the kind of fuzz I like.
And there's a lot of low in it, and I know at least 4 or 5 bass players who uses it on bass.
Wow.
It's actually the only pedal I've made that I would recommend for bass players. I have a lot of bass players who write to me, hey, can I use this for bass? And then I always said, okay, you can try. I wouldn't do it because it's really fine-tuned for guitar, and I don't like to use it on bass. But if you like it, then go ahead. But the Red Fuzz is actually the one where I would say, okay, try this one.
Yeah.
On bass.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
Great. And the deep metal pedal as well.
Metal, yeah. I wanted to make a metal distortion for a long time, because my musical taste is very wide, and I've played a lot of that stuff as well earlier, and I still like it. I just get full of it easier when I listen to that kind of music today. I can also listen to Steve Vai today, but after 3 songs, I think, okay, that was great. Next week maybe. So it's not really my heart anymore. So, but I like to do it anyway, and I like this really heavy attitude as well. So I wanted to make a heavy metal pedal, and I listened a lot to the Rev G pedal. What's it called? Rev G, I think. Isn't it? I think very popular metal distortion.
HM2.
Just got it. Yeah, the Rev V metal distortion, very popular one, and I bought one and I listened to it, and I thought it was great, but I also could hear very fast what I wanted to do different. I was to make a metal distortion.
Yeah.
I knew exactly this and this. I would change this and this and this, but elsewhere I like the sound of it. So the deep metal is in that scope, and it's comparable with the Rev V if you turn down if you dial it in scoop mode. So yeah. Of course the deep metal have fewer buttons, so it's more plug and play. It does this job very well and not anything else really.
Right.
And I like that concept in my pedals, that you have a tool that does one thing really good, and it's not like you can use it for this and this and this and this and try to make everybody happy. It's more like it does this thing, and if you like it, then you gotta have it. Yeah. But if you don't like it, then buy something else. And this thing.
And yeah. there are a lot of effects builders in the industry. Yeah. So who else are you seeing in the industry that you're admiring and seeing their sort of their work that's really sort of taken your interest?
Yeah, for example, Strymon, because they specialized in reverb and delay and things like that, and really dived into that and made it their thing. I really think, yeah. I know they made some as well, but I'm not that much up and running on that drive. But there are reverbs and delays and things like that. They really did something yeah. in that area, and really admire that. And I like the idea as well to find something and just drill down and really go. Yeah,
do you think they were probably the manufacturer that did actually turn? And I've said this a few times, like with Reverb, it's very simple effect. And sort of 15 years ago, you had, hall, plate, spring, room, and that was probably about it on reverbs. But now you've got octaves and all sorts of things. Probably Strymon, like I say, I think probably Strymon made that their own. I can't think of anyone else that really did that before Strymon. They've really sort of turned simple effects into quite wonderful things, haven't they? And finally, what's the future for Lunastone? Without giving too many trade secrets away, what else have you got coming up? What are your hopes and aspirations for Lunastone going forward?
We are working on some controller things right now, MIDI controller and loop controller and things like that, and also some communication systems that differs a little bit from what you see on the market, where the units can analog. It's really, I have experimenting with this for a lot of some time actually, but making the analog pedals communicate a little better, at least, with each other. I've experimented with a lot of different ways to do this. So because there's always this 30-year-old dilemma with the programmable units and stump boxes, and it's like a pendulum that has always waved back and forth, and for obvious reasons, because there are up and down sides with the things. Programmable units, you have to program them before you can use them, and then you're out on a gig, maybe with just as a stand-in or something like that, and then you fuck, I haven't programmed it for this, and you got to carry a lot of equipment, and you have to do a lot of preparation work, and that's in that case it's a lot easier to just have your board with some stump boxes and you just pull them out. This is the drive, this is the, so it's very easy to figure out, but it's also limited, and sometimes you have to do step dance to switch a lot of pedals at the same time. So I have some ideas to make these the best of the two worlds come together, and I've experimented some with this, and I also have some solutions for it, but they are not developed ready yet to get onto the market. But it's something I still experiment with.
Cool. Sounds great. Sounds great. Well, look, thank you very much for your time and giving us an insight into you and Lunastone and the pedals you create. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Nice talking to you as well.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, and I'll have a great weekend, and I'll see you again soon.